Number one, I think importantly, it was nice to have our players and their parents. Not all of them, but a lot of the parents came down. Really great to see them. Can't wait till the fall when we be able to have fans and everything else. But it was great to have the parents. The other thing, you reflect and you think about last spring and only having the opportunity to have 6 practices. Obviously, having a full spring is important all the time, but just the fact that we got to get 15 days in, pretty much, with everybody at every practice, and so that was something that, as you look back, you're really thankful that we got to get through the whole 15.
Thank you, Coach. Appreciate that. We'll open it up for questions. We'll start with Paul.
Hey, Coach, prior to the game, you talked about wanting to have a game atmosphere. How would you evaluate your staff's ability to do that today?
Paul, I think, from the standpoint of game-like situations, it truly is and isn't. But I think, the staff did a great job. I thought the players, we did kickoff return. We had a couple punts and punt return. And then just for the sake of the numbers that you have, we went back to what we've kind of done on other scrimmage days, particularly when we punted. But I thought, as much as we possibly can, spring games are always something as a coach you get a little nervous about. You get somebody hurt, after you've had pretty much your best scrimmage was the week before. But I think the atmosphere was good. There were some big plays that happened that got the people that were in attendance, excited. But I think it all worked out well.
Today, the defensive front was dominant for both teams. What's the ceiling for your front six?
That's to be determined still. I think we've got some guys who've played a lot of snaps, obviously, when you look at how many snaps Cam's played, Jonah and then Keyshawn, and being able to have Cepho back and Kai, gives us a pretty good set of ends. And I think Danna, I think Wyatt Drager have all improved. So it's got to be the strength of our team and the strength of our defense.
The last question for me, during the season, you spoke about, and Coach Leslie spoke about scoring in the red zone. And, today aside, how has your team progressed in that department throughout the spring?
Yeah, I think we made progress, even though, probably didn't show up today as much as we all would like. But, when you're a defensive coach, you kind of like what the defense did. But we've got to improve and keep making progress.
Thanks, Coach. Congratulations on a great spring.
Thanks, Paul.
Thanks, Paul. Move on, Andre.
Hi, Coach. So as a coach, how much weight do you give a player's performance in this game versus how they performed in multiple weeks of practices and scrimmages when you make your overall assessment of them?
Yeah, and I think that's a really good question. I think, number one, you take the whole winter and you take the whole spring when you do your evaluation. I think it's interesting when you do game-like and you have people in attendance, how some of your younger players who haven't played as much and getting those reps and how they react during that. I thought, Jalen Armstead, I thought ran the ball very well. I thought he did a nice job in bringing the outside zone back inside a couple times. I think he got the corner a couple times, broke a fair amount of tackles on a couple runs. So, you see a guy who hadn't played much for us get out there in front of, as many people as we could and see how they play in that game-like situation.
Great, thank you. And was there one particular aspect of the game that surprised you, whether it was for the better or for the worse?
Yeah, I would say, at the first 14 days, I thought all three quarterbacks did a lot of good things. I think, today we didn't play as well for one reason or another at that position. And I was talking to Jeff before we did this Zoom call. But, I think, we needed to make a little bit more progress. Still have a ton of confidence in each and every one of them. But I didn't think we played as well or made a couple decisions a little better.
Thank you, Coach.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Andre. We'll go to Kirk.
Hey, Brady, to expand a little bit on what you're just saying about the quarterbacks, beyond decisions, is it anything about like their throws being off target or anything like that that also stood out to you?
Well, I think a little bit of that, Kirk. I think we had opportunities, even though they weren't live, there was a couple third downs where instead of throwing for the big play, they had an opportunity to extend the play or go ahead and scramble for the yardage. And when you've got three guys who all have a good, good ability, a great ability with their feet to extend plays and make plays, I think we've got to be looking more towards that than trying to make the big play down the field. It's great when you hit those plays, but when you don't, your defense is back on the field, and we like it when they're on the field.
One thing with running quarterbacks, a lot of times they know they can escape and get some yards. Were you kind of surprised they wouldn't go ahead and run for that first down, rather than, looking for something else?
Yeah, I was, and I let them know it. That you've got an opportunity. You got to take advantage of it to keep the ball, move the sticks, and I know Jeff and I talked about it, and that will be one of his points that he'll make with them as we review this game.
You mentioned Armstead. So how far does he move up the depth chart? Is he now right behind Greg Bell, or how does that all work out?
No, I think we got, we've got a pretty good room. We got some guys who are talented. I thought Chance in his opportunities, he had a couple good runs in there. I thought Keegan had a couple good runs in there. So, I think he's just part of what we have when you look at our depth at that position, and part of that being a strength of what we have as a football team.
Anybody on defense in particular jump out at you?
Well, I think Pat McMorris has come on. I like our linebackers, whether it's Alecki, Caden McDonald, I think Cedric Lakalaka, Shawcroft. I thought Vi Cajo is going to be a very good player for us here. As I look at that part of it, I think Garrett Fountain has got a ton better. And that room is a good room for us, and then I think the D-line room is a good room for us. I think Cam made 3 tackles in the first 6 plays, and a lot of them were effort. And that's just what he brings, every day is a toughness and an effort that he plays with.
Okay. And then I wanted to be clear, the guys who are going to get steak, what comes with that?
Well, it would be all the trimmings that you would want when you have a nice steak dinner.
Like baked potato and...
Yep, the whole thing. They're getting it all.
And is that on fine china, or what's that served on?
That will be fine china, and then you'll have a nice hot dog on a paper plate.
And then as commissioner, were you going to get a steak regardless of who won today?
No, I'll take the hot dog. I'd rather those guys enjoy that.
All right, thanks.
Yep.
Thanks, Kirk. We'll go to Kyle.
Hey, Coach. So about Ethan Dado, obviously his touchdown today, but I noticed on a couple other deeper routes he had a step or two on some defenders. What have you seen from him throughout camp so far, and then what did you see from him today?
Well, I thought he came down, with the ball that was thrown down the field and did a nice job, obviously with the reception and then getting in the end zone. But, Ethan's been a guy who's been very steady through the spring. I think he's done a really good job when you even dig deeper into the leadership and his want to. I think he's a guy who has shown, a toughness and, a love for the Aztecs.